Hi, I'm John from Nickton Gaming, and if you're like me, then you are an indie developer who just makes small apps. Now, you may want to release your product either onto the itch.io store or maybe your own website or any other place that will accept it. But you want to create an interesting installer experience so you can install the game rather than just have a zip folder like you would get from Unity when you build your app or game. But that can be very hard to do. So today I will be showing you how I at Nickton Gaming convert my Unity executable zip folder to an installer that you can just double click and run on your computer. Now, I will be following my tutorial on my GitHub that is free for everyone to see. It's public. I will share it in the link of this video, and I will just follow through it step by step with you. Now, the first thing that you do need is you need to download and install the setup compiler, which I personally downloaded from what I believe is to be their website, and I just downloaded the latest version of it. Now, that being said, I cannot guarantee that your experience will be the same as mine. I hope that it is, but there may be updates in the time that you see this video. So the next thing to do is to start up the setup script wizard, which I have open right here. Then under new file, select create a new script file under the script wizard and click OK. Now I have the script wizard file open, and I do not want to select create a new empty script file because then you would have to write your own script, which can be a little bit complicated, and we don't want to do that right now. Perhaps you can play with it on your own later. So we'll click next. Then we should enter an application name, version, company, website. All of this stuff is optional, but it does increase the user experience. Now, I will be building my my installer file from a recent Snake game that I created and then released on the Google Play Store. But this is a Windows version of that Android app. And this is what my build folder looks like in my Snake game. So, to give it a name, I will just call it Snake. Currently the application is in version 1.0.0. I will add my company, and then I can add my application website, which at this time is gaming.com. It's nothing too fancy. In fact, it's created by someone with no real design experience. But yes. Then I click next, and I don't have to change anything on this, but feel free to. This would be the folder name of the application. You can change the name there, and this would be installed in your program files too. You can allow the user to change the application folder if they want, or say it doesn't need a folder, but I want to just keep the defaults for mine. Now we are at the meat of the setup. This can be one of the most confusing parts. So the top part is we have the main executable file. So I want to find my main executable file for my game. So I will go browse, I will go to my desktop, I will find my Snake game, my build, and then my Snake executable. You must select this, otherwise it will run a completely different thing. You can also check these if you want, and I usually just leave them at default. Then I will add the files to my game. I just add, yes, we just need the Unity Player DLL and the Unity Crash Handler, which I will open. And then the folders is a little special. So in your folders, you have to go here, create a new folder, and give it the same name as the parent folder. So mono bleeding edge. Then you need to drag the other folders into it, and do that with every folder in your files. So this one will be called snake underscore data, and I will select everything, folders included, and I will drag those into snake data. Now I can go back here and click add folder, and I will have to scroll down to find the folder, and I click the parent one, not the inside one, but the parent one. And then I say, yes, it should also include all of the sub files as well. Let's scroll down and find it. So we added the mono bleeding edge. Now let's add snake data and click yes again. And your file should look like this. We'll click next. We don't need to change anything here. We can leave it all the same. Again, with this one, we don't need to change anything. If you feel like it, feel free to test it out. Here is where you can add a license text file if you want to have special licenses for your project. And then we want to select the administrative install mode, which is selected by default for me, and then select the ask the user to choose the install mode at startup. Again, you don't have to do this, but I find it's polite to. Then you select the languages. My application, of course, will be in English. Then you can go next. Now you can set a custom compiler output folder. This is where your installer will be created. If you do not set this, then it will be added to your build folder, and it will create a new folder called output like this. But we don't need to do that ourselves, so I will just leave it blank. Now, a file name for the game, I'm going to call mine snake underscore v 1.0.0. You can set an icon file. Now this icon file does have to be an ICO style, and that's easy enough to convert a PNG, JPG, JPEG, or any other image format into an icon format through the internet. There are countless online resources for that. You can even set up a password like the disc games of old that would ask you for the game password. But I will not add one. Those are easy enough to get around nowadays. Here I will leave it as the default, and I will click next and then finish. Then I'm asked, would you like to compile the new script? I will say yes. And I'm asked, would you like to save the script before compiling? And I will say yes, and then I will say where I want to save it. Again, this is up to you, but I will call this snake script. Feel free to name yours whatever you wish. Now we can see that my script is compiling. As it runs through here, it will be building my executable file. my installer. And now that it's done, I can close this, and if I look back at my folder, we see that I now have an output folder with my Snake game in it. And from there on out, it's just like installing any other game, like if you're playing Age of Empires or something. So I double click it, it says install mode, install for all users, which I then need to verify. Then where do I want to install it? I'll install it there. Yes, let me create a desktop shortcut and then install it. My file is very small, and then I will launch Snake. And you should see the game that you saw on startup, which is my Snake game. And that is how we go about creating an installer from a Unity build. So I really hope that this tutorial has helped you out, and if it hasn't, or if you had any issues with it, feel free to leave a comment or send a message, and I will reply at my earliest convenience. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.